You are being lied to. Before Donald Trump has even taken office, we're seeing the mainstream media take their battle positions and aim straight at him. This time, well, they're trying to fan the flames of controversy by pitting Elon Musk against Donald Trump, but I don't think there's been a better rebuttal of that than what Scott Jennings said on CNN. So take a look for yourself, because there's so much I need to tell you about it.
I want to bring in the Elon Musk of it all, because this has been a through line of discussion, both by Democrats and Republicans. Democrats are saying he's the real president-elect. A lot of Republicans are saying that's not true, but thank goodness he did what he did. Is this going to wear thin with Donald Trump soon?
I don't think so. I mean, look, they appear to be getting along well. Musk was very instrumental in his victory. And I hear Democrats, criticizing the idea that we have unelected people with too much influence over the government. I invite them to pick up the Wall Street Journal from this week and find out that unelected people have been running the government for the last 4 years. I hear Democrats criticizing the influence of billionaires on our politics when you've got this Soros punk running around collecting Democrat politicians like my kids collect Pokemon cards. So I think all the criticism of Musk coming from the left is totally hypocritical, totally over the top. And he is doing something interesting, bringing some transparency to the federal government. It's not a terrible thing.
Wait a minute. You know what jumps out at me more than anything? It's that panels like this one on CNN are rambling on about Elon Musk's outsized influence on the Trump administration, when we're not even living under a Trump presidency yet. In fact, Musk has only come out in support of Donald Trump after July. By the way, we expose these media tricks like no one else can, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always be the first to see them. Now, there's two things in the last week that the media is trying to whip up into a premature frenzy. The downsizing of that obscenely large stopgap bill to keep the government running, which ended up being 1,500 pages of unnecessary funding approvals Trojan horsed into that emergency bill, which Elon Musk called a big piece of pork. And then there was a rather mild disagreement over H-1B visas inside the party, which publications like The Hill and The Washington Post hilariously called a civil war inside MAGA. So no, I don't think this attempt at dividing the Republican base is going to work, especially by a Democratic base and the media establishment that is as divided as ever.
Elon Musk does have an outsized influence over Republican politics and the government right now. You've never seen George Soros create an agency and run an agency. You've never seen him parade the president around, the president of the United States around. You just haven't seen those things. And so that's a bit apples and oranges. But the only thing I was going to say is that it's going to wear thin, not with Donald Trump, but if you think Elon Musk is going to push over Thune, that ain't happening. He's not pushing over Hakeem Jeffries. That's not happening. And he's going to run into a buzzsaw. And I personally believe Elon Musk is just going to throw his hands up in about 6 months and say, y'all can have this. Well, these things not for me.
Wow. So we're moving the goalpost now and raising the bar to running an agency? It just reeks of a degree of hypocrisy to suggest that Elon Musk's $200 million donation to the Trump campaign is much different to the hundreds of millions that have been donated to the Kamala campaign by the likes of Reid Hoffman, Michael Bloomberg, and Bill Gates. That's, of course, as part of a massively bloated $1.5 billion of campaign ending up in abysmal failure. Anyone that wants to genuinely take money out of politics across the aisle, I'm all for it. But using it as a political cudgel to beat your opponents with is exactly why it hasn't happened in decades. Elon Musk, who's changed his name on X to Kekis Maximus, that's a pretty good joke, denies a financial incentive for the donation, saying, quote, "And to be clear, I have never asked Donald Trump to do any favors, nor has he offered me any. Despite that, the hopeless attempt at controversy continues, and there's many more names in the MSM serving as a mouthpiece to do that." Here's what Brian Stelter said, for example.
He's oftentimes relying on random anonymous accounts, these websites, these users on X who are trying to present themselves as the new CNN, the new New York Times, but have no research behind them, no backing, no institutional knowledge. And I understand that for Musk, that's really appealing. It's exciting on his platform, but he ends up misleading a lot of people. It is striking how he does seem to be learning about lawmaking in real time. And just a moment ago, he tweeted about all the coverage of him in the last 24 hours. There's been all these questions, Dana. Is he the real president-elect? Is he the shadow president? Well, Musk responded on X. He says the political and legacy media puppets are all echoing the same idea, parroting the same message, trying to drive a wedge between Trump and me. and Musk ads, they will fail. I don't think anybody's trying to drive a wedge except those Democrats who are saying it. Journalists are just trying to understand the relationship between Trump and Musk, because it's one of the most important relationships of the next 4 years.
We're literally calling it as we see it. Elon Musk put out on social media that he didn't like the bill. Then there was a statement from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and then everything fell apart.
So why would anyone even listen to these panels on the likes of CNN and MSNBC act holier than thou over external influence on government, when they've seen the ones to gaslight and ridicule voters and pundits screaming for the past 4 years that Joe Biden's political power is leaking into his peers and the entrenched bureaucratic establishment? Meanwhile, a bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal quietly gets released and nobody's apparently talking about it. Part of that article last month takes reports from Biden's closest aides who alleged, and I quote, "Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S.'s disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy. With people such as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Senior Counselor Steve Ricchetti, and National Economic Council head Lael Brainard and her predecessor frequently in the position of being go-betweens for the president. If that's the kind of presidency we're coming out of, perhaps we need to wait and see for the next guy to take office first. And if anything, the disagreement with Donald Trump inside the MAGA base or the slight suspicion of Elon Musk means there's still a self-cleaning mechanism or a degree of accountability left in the party."
You have concerns about Elon Musk's business dealings in other countries, including American adversaries, and the level of influence that has over his own behavior and his interests.
I have no concerns about Elon Musk. I have been looking at pictures of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden meeting with Chinese political leaders lately that we were told didn't exist. So for all the people who are really upset about Elon Musk having a very successful international business that actually produces things, actually produces vehicles or rockets or whatever they're doing, the Bidens produce nothing, and yet we're also doing business in China. So I don't accept this.
I don't want you to change the subject, because it's not really about whether he's a successful business person or not. It's about whether his material interests as a business owner are in conflict with the United States' national security interests.
My view is his prospects and interests as a business owner and most of the things he's into, electric cars, rockets, the internet that we're using all over the world. It's good for the United States to be the warehouse for that. It's good for our national security to have this kind of technology. The idea that there is somehow a conflict in the United States having this kind of a businessman, and that's somehow bad for us, I just totally reject.
See, that's the point. It's not that the people inside the Republican Party aren't already aware of things like Elon Musk's political donations, the disagreement over bills or visas, or even a degree of suspicion of newcomers in the party. It's that they are not willing to be lectured on these things by the Democrats after the legacy left with the last 4 years. Perhaps that's a sentiment that's understandable to say the least, but let me know in the comments if you agree and share this video across your social media to get the word out. What's left is for anyone that voted for Donald Trump to hold him accountable and not make the same mistake made by their political opponents over the last 4 years.